What is the weirdest experience you've had in your life? Story 1. I pulled my pickup deep into a little canyon near the Berlin ghost town in Nevada to find a sandy spot to camp one late afternoon and came across a little stone cabin about 12 feet by 12 feet interior dimensions with an open door and window. I thought, hey, cool, won't have to pitch a tent tonight. As I hopped out to poke my head inside to check for ants, snakes, etc. The moment I crossed the threshold, I got a feeling of deep black anger and resentment so hard it was like getting slapped in the face. I had been really upbeat a second before, but that feeling scared me so much I hopped back in my truck and drove 30 miles before I felt okay enough to look for a campsite again. Something had told me in no uncertain terms I was not welcome in that cabin. Story 2, I'll tell this story, one I haven't told anyone, just to write it down as something some might find mildly interesting. For me, it isn't anything tremendously important, but for some reason, it's something I never forgot, and this was 49 years ago. I traveled with a friend to Mexico the summer after high school. We took a flight from the San Francisco Bay Area to LA, then hitchhiked across the Mexican border, grabbing a bus ride, terrifying, to Mazatlan, where we planned to start a month of bumming around that part of Mexico. That first night in Mazatlan, we dined and drank, then took a walk along a seawall where we came across some random American dude who found our happy-go-lucky stumblings about to be rather amusing. He struck up a conversation, inviting us to his place as a way to keep the fun times going. Sure, we said, and followed him down some sketchy alleyway to what was, essentially, no more than a room through a wall. It was a completely bare room, no furniture, no other doors or rooms off of it. In it, there was a young couple, nicely dressed, seemingly less on the bum than we, and another gentleman, well dressed, but casual. They were simply sitting there on the bare floor, quite nonchalant as if waiting for us, or waiting for the party to get started. The American dude said this other gentleman was his guru, his Don Juan, a guru-type character from a book popular at the time. There was no partying going on, just a few stories shared about who we were and what we were doing in that part of Mexico at the time. So this gentleman, the single guy whose place it was, apparently, revealed that he was the son of some diplomat, that he had killed someone, or some persons, and he was simply biding his time, lending his magical powers to interested people, which is where, I suppose, he acquired his sidekick, the American dude. Okay, I think we'll just be moving along, we said, and headed out into the dark and off to our hotel room. That was weird. We spent about a month traveling through Mexico, seeing the sights, having a good time, before heading back to Mazatlan, from where we would find our way back to California. Who do we run into back in Mazatlan? Yep, American dude and son of diplomat murderer who proceeds to ask if we remembered that young couple that were also in that room that night some weeks before. Sure, we remembered them. I killed her, says Don Juan, in the most matter-of-fact way, as if it was not only the most normal thing in the world to say, but was something we might find a tad bit interesting and something he's surprisingly willing to share. Again, we bid a quick goodbye and noped out of there. What the hell? Finished our journey, found our way home, and got on with life. Never forgot how preposterous that was, or how less than preposterous it was apparently meant to seem. Never made it back to Mexico. Story 3. My dad died 24 years ago now, suddenly. He was in his 70s and had heart troubles, but we still weren't expecting it. He and I had a good relationship. He was always supportive. I was in training halfway across the country, so had to get home fast to be with my mom. My husband was going to bring our son separately. I was so stressed I forgot to bring undies. Anyway, the whole thing was as awful as you'd expect. My mom was in shock. We were all distraught. The next day I took a shower and, of course, forgot a towel. My parents had an in-the-wall dryer deal you could open, and wooden sticks could be raised to dry towels. Of course, I looked to see if one was there that I could use. My parents bought crappy towels, cheap brands, none matched. But this is the weird part. The ceiling light was behind it, so the towel hanging there kind of glowed from the light behind it. In the stitching of the towel, you could clearly see a heart pattern where stitching was pulled out. The rest of the towel was fine. I never told anyone, but I kept the towel. Still have it, the heart is still there. I like to think it was my dad telling me he got where he was going, and everything was fine. Subscribe if you watch till end.